My name is Jim Preston. I'm a senior designer at Relic Entertainment working on Space Marine. So Space Marine has been in development at Relic for about 2.5 years. We are traditionally known for our real-time strategy games, the Dawn of War series and the Company of Heroes. And this is sort of our first attempt to get into AAA blockbuster action adventure games. So we're really proud of what we've accomplished with Space Marine. And one of our goals, and probably our primary goal, was to start and take with this iconic character of the Space Marine, someone who's been around for over 25 years, and to build a game around this character. When you look at this guy, when you look at the size and the scale of him, when you look at the color of his armor and the way he attacks, this is a character who really doesn't play like a traditional action-adventure character. So he's someone who very much runs into battle and who immediately will attack the enemy, and he doesn't really take cover, he doesn't really hop, he doesn't really crouch or shy away. So we wanted to reproduce that experience in Space Marine. And we went about that a couple of different ways. One of the first ways is we created a mechanic that made it fun to close ground. So we have a shoulder charge, for example, where you run in and you throw your weight against the enemy and they go flying back. This huge sort of epic explosion. It gives the player a chance to breathe, a chance to look around and sort of look for the next enemy. So we wanted to throw yourself into the enemy. And our health system is based upon doing these sort of dramatic kills in order to gain health. So where in most games you sort of will like run away and sort of wait for your health to regenerate. In Space Marine, you really are going to gain health back by engaging the enemy, by bringing yourself up close and then tearing them apart. And that way you'll already be in the enemy. So it creates this really nice loop of closing into combat, throwing yourself, the entire weight of this dramatic character against the enemies, and then proceeding to just rip them apart. And that's how you gain health. And I think that's really what makes the core fun of this game. So one of the really big challenges was, how do you have a game that's both partially melee and partially ranged, but both feel good and satisfying? A lot of ranged games have a little bit of melee, and a lot of brawler games have just a little bit of range, but we really wanted to achieve that balance. So you can get on the X button really quickly, you can throw that sword around and really carve up a lot of enemies, but you can get right back onto the right trigger just as quickly and shoot an enemy who's in the background, and then quickly melee an enemy who's in the foreground, all without doing a lot of thinking. In order to achieve that, we really had to bring in a lot of new talent into Relic, along with our existing strategy talent, people who really knew the Warhammer franchise. But we brought in people who worked on the original Counter-Strike, and people from Valve, people from EA Sports, people from Sony, a lot of different talent.
Could you talk a little bit about what's going on right now on screen? We're seeing a lot of orcs, and we know they're a primary enemy in the game, along with Chaos.
Well, we have a couple of different enemies in the game, and when we sat down and started to originally think about this game, we had to think about, well, what do fans expect? What would they expect in that first action-adventure game set in the Warhammer universe? And orcs clearly have to be a part of it. Orcs are a race people love to hate. They're these brutal, animalistic creatures that you really never get tired of sawing in half. So we knew we had to have orcs in there. But we also knew we had to have Chaos Marines in there, because Chaos are just as powerful as Space Marines. In this instance, we're fighting against a huge bunch of orcs in the Manufactorum. And the orcs have invaded this machine world called Graia. It's a forge world set in the Warhammer universe, and this entire planet is devoted to nothing but building war machines. And the orcs are trying to get their hands on this huge machine called a Titan, which is sort of a building-sized bipedal robot. And you play as Captain Titus, and you're sent in to sort of disinfect the orcs from this world. And here, for example, in the background, you'll see an arm of a Titan. That's just to give you some idea of the sheer size of this thing. And below them we have an orc war machine. And Captain Titus will take advantage of this opportunity. Just go ahead and just drop that piece of Titan onto the orcs, killing thousands in a single blow. And that gives you an idea of the scale and the scope and the blockbuster nature of this game.
So right now what we're seeing being played, about how far along in the game is that?
This is about an hour into the game. Once you've made Planetfall, once you sort of realize what the orcs are after, that's when you make your way to the Manufactorum. Okay. He also has an iron halo on now. So later on in the game, you will the forces of Chaos will make an appearance, and it'll up the ante, and suddenly the orcs are the least of your problems. In this particular battle, we actually have orcs fighting against Chaos as they both battle for control of the Forge planet. The Chaos present a different kind of challenge than the orcs. Where the orcs try to overwhelm through sheer number and sheer brutality, the Chaos Marines are as old and as wise and use the same weapons as the Space Marines. They use weapons like plasma cannons and stalker bolters and terror bolters and things like that. But you encounter very few of them because they are just as powerful as any Space Marine. And so Captain Titus and his corporal and his lieutenant and his sergeant really going to need sort of all of their abilities to take down each individual Chaos Marine. The Chaos are also flanked by the Renegades, and later on you'll even see some Bloodletters as they come in through a warp portal. We have Tainted Psychers, and we have a couple of other surprises as well from the Forces of Chaos. So some of the weapons that you'll see right now is, in this case, he's going to go ahead and just use the iconic chainsword. And here we've got some blood for the Blood God. Just run the chainsword right through his head. Well, we also have a power axe, and we have the Thunder Hammer, a personal favorite. From the ranged weapons, obviously we're going to have the bolter, but we have a Melta shotgun, we've got a Storm bolter, we've got a Stalker pattern bolter, we have a Graya Vengeance launcher, which is like a grenade launcher, we have las cannons, heavy bolters, plasma cannons. We've got a ton of great ranged weapons that are all a lot of fun to fire.
Are these weapons customizable at all or upgradable over time?
In the single-player campaign, none of the weapons are upgradable. You know, the Space Marines sort of start off as badasses. They don't get more badass. They are already badass when you begin the game. So we didn't have that sort of sense of going from a weak Space Marine to a strong Space Marine. When you begin the game against orcs, you're ripping them apart just like a real Space Marine would rip apart an orc boy or a melee boy. The knobs present a challenge, and you know, certainly orc war bosses are their own special challenge. But the Chaos Space Marine the Space Marine that you play in the single player game, he doesn't level up. So there is an example of going into battle and throwing yourself at the characters and needing to sort of give yourself space using a fury attack and grabbing guys in order to get health. And just each of the weapons has a different sort of brutal finisher depending on the type of weapon and the type of enemy you're facing. As you can see, he's caked in blood. That you know, Space Marines, although they do have ranged weapons, they much prefer to get up and just, you know, plant the axe into the skull of the enemy and kick him off the blade. So very much a sort of a vicious, brutal, in-your-face sort of game, and all the gameplay is leading towards that, of rolling in and getting closer. In this case, he also has one of the iconic Iron Halos, which you see represented on the back of the Space Marine, but also on the top center of the health bar, as he has an extra layer of armor thanks to the Iron Halo. Here are the Renegades and Bloodletters, and a couple of Chaos Marines as well. There he liquefies a Renegade who just pleased him. Oh, look out. Look out. Oh, right to the back. You know, the Emperor only asks that we hate, and that's what this game allows you to do. It allows you to put a lot of hate on the enemies of the Imperium of Man.
Will you be seeing any other Space Marine factions in the game, or is it just all Ultramarines?
You know, in addition, there are other factions. You don't play as them, but the Ultramarines do meet up with other factions in the single-player game, and the multiplayer is a whole other discussion. So that's a Melta shotgun right now, and now he's softened up. He's getting into a pretty brutal.
Are you able to? I mean, I noticed that there's other Space Marines obviously following you around. Are you able to talk at all about the game's co-op right now?
Right now, we're not able to talk about multiplayer and co-op. We'll have a separate event post E3 to discuss those.
Okay. Not even a little bit?
Multiplayer is awesome.
And there are other Marines, maybe?
Multiplayer is awesome.
Okay.
I can't talk any more about that.
All right.
because that'll spoil the surprise.
Any last words of wisdom you want to give our readers?
Yes, Space Marine will be out September 6th for Xbox 360, PS3, and PC. So give it a look.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.